My manager made me fire almost all of her most important employees. I work as an administrative assistant at a major sporting goods retailer. Part of my job is to track attendance and regularly upload a report to corporate. My store manager just recently, in the last 2 years, got hired by our district manager who she has been friends with for years. They managed to push out the old store manager who had the store running like a ticking clock. Ever since then, it has become abundantly clear that she has no idea how to run the store, and we have all suffered for it. She constantly screws up the store schedule, bullies employees she doesn't like, and has hired incompetent friends to management positions. We all dislike her and think she should be fired, but it seems like everything she does in the store makes us look bad while making her look good, until recently. Like I said above, part of my job is tracking attendance. Yet for years, it has been common knowledge that those in my position are expected to fail to upload attendance records to corporate because the company's policies on attendance are extremely harsh and many employees fail to meet attendance due to factors out of their control. For instance, employees who come in before we open to process our freight often clock in late because the managers on duty take their sweet time opening the front doors for these employees. It is not their fault that they come in late. And on some occasions, certain employees have been left outside for upwards of 30 minutes after ringing our doorbell because the only person who could open the doors was busy or didn't hear the doorbell, which is soft. Anyway, if I should upload the attendance record to corporate, many of these employees would probably be fired on the spot by our regional manager, through email, because these things are automated and mandatory. As a side note, the store manager is one of the managers who likes to take 10 or 15 minutes to open the door for freight employees. We all hate her for this because when it is winter we have to wait those 10 or 15 minutes outside the door in the freezing cold and she acts like it is no big deal. Anyway, her district manager friend recently moved to another district and we got a new DM who is looking to move up in corporate. To do this, she has to make all of our metrics look awesome, including attendance. She sent an email to our store manager demanding an attendance record. I told the store manager that this could get many employees fired, but instead of realizing the implications, she told me to run the report anyway. I tried to tell her that this could result in most of the employees who had availability before we open, who are very valuable and rare, getting fired, and she completely blew me off. She literally went as far as saying that I was not thinking straight. I told her that she could adjust the attendance on her end as the DM clearly wanted her to do. This has been common procedure due to the reasons for poor attendance, and she told me that she was the store manager, she would figure it out, and I should just do my job as I was told. So I ran the report, and immediately got a furious email from the new district manager saying that I should have run the report by my store manager, to adjust the records, before uploading it to corporate. The next day, corporate sent an automated email with the names of all the employees that should be fired, which is not an email that our manager can either respond to or contest. She had to fire all the employees on the email. And as it turned out, every single employee with availability before we opened got fired. 15 people. And every other employee in the store is a student with no ability to work before like 10 a.m., so there is nobody to process our freight, which is a massive job. I got an email from a friend in corporate yesterday that said the regional manager was lining up a replacement for our store manager due to incompetence. None of us are surprised. Now to the comments. Automated attendance-based email firings must be the stupidest corporate policy I have heard of yet. OP replied. They fired people over email for abusing discounts simply because those people used the discounts on forms of payment that were unusual for them. For instance, my friend got fired because he used his discount with a new credit card and they assumed he was giving his discount to a friend, even though he could prove it was his credit card. They track types of payments. To say we were angry and confused over it is an understatement. That sounds like a lawsuit. This stupidity goes beyond your store manager. If the higher UPS think it is reasonable to fire people based on nothing more than an attendance report, the whole company will be in trouble before much longer. Yep, the culture of having to lie on reports, yet somehow everyone knows and expects this, just goes right up the chain. My wife has a faintly related issue but with meeting sales numbers every month, sales that the company is guaranteed to get eventually, so instead of just letting the sale close in say, December, they get all stressed out the last few days of November. I told her that November looking worse simply means December looks better, which could mean December wouldn't have to be a crunch. Nope. So the company continues to go into paralysis the last week of every month, for no good reason. The cycle, curse, never ends. End of month crunch is such a ducking cancer. What a bunch of dicks. It's a giant abuse of sporting authority. One would think that suddenly requiring the immediate dismissal of a large chunk of the workforce would require some sort of oversight or raise some flags. I guess it was enough to get the manager in hot water, but not enough to preserve the livelihoods of 15 people fired for doing nothing wrong. OP replied. This is a large retailer with so many regulations in place that a couple dozen employees don't go amiss. They recently fired almost 10 people for using their discount on transactions that were approved by management simply because corporate wanted to crack down on discount as a percentage of sales, which was only around 4%. So, they clearly don't give a duck about employees or actual profit because many of the employees they fired for those discounts, which were like $20 or $30 total discounts, were sales leads who take thousands of dollars and dozens of hours to train. It was called the Purge of 2018 and it cost us many of our best trained employees. Ironically, the new big issue in the store is giving out too many discounts to customers because of fake coupons. Coupons that take a trained employee to spot. Trained employees like the 9 cashiers they recently fired, and they've lost tens of thousands of dollars to this at our one store alone. I would name and shame this company so we all know where not to shop. This is next level scumbaggery right here. I was hoping the store manager would be one of the people whose attendance you were reporting on and that they'd be fired by email too. OP replied. Alas, she is salaried and not hourly, so her attendance isn't tracked. Bugger. Sorry, 15 people got fired for the incompetence of one woman, but blame also accrues to the district managers and corporate policy makers who don't fight this firing action. Every policy should have room for exceptions and extenuating circumstances that can be used to override a bad action like this, and managers should fight to make sure the policies give them that power. OP replied. To be fair to corporate, the ability exists for the store manager to reconcile time card punches to the time the cameras see the person arrive at the door. My manager just didn't want to. Which is part of the reason we are all glad she won't be here very long. They fire the employees instead of paying them what they are legally required to pay, and they update attendance records and not time cards. Time clocks keep this information. Corporate accesses this information to pay you. The attendance report is a formal way to underpay employees, sue the company for withholding wages. This is very illegal. Reminds me of a company I worked for, after I sold them my company, web hosting/data center, so most of our employees were the IT/nerd types. The president is like, I'm thinking about drug testing everyone, and I said no, unless you want to fire at least half your support techs, do not do that. He did it. About half tested positive for pot. I knew most of them smoked, they're IT nerds. The anomalies is usually who doesn't toke up. I worked in a call center and everyone knew the drug policy was don't ask, don't tell. You didn't even get drug tested upon hire, only if you said something about using in front of both witnesses and a manager or were involved in an incident that might potentially hit their insurance. Considering that sometimes things got so crazy there was unlimited overtime and a few people would occasionally work 24-hour shifts. Yeah, there was a lot of drug use going on, probably on premises even. I work in the machining trade, and it's basically the same thing. You get drug tested when you come in, but I've literally had a boss ask me if I would piss clean, not in a confrontational way, just asking me if I wanted to shift my test date to make sure I passed.